I got laid off and I'm terrified.
I'm pretty sure I'm getting laid off today.
So after 19 official years, 2 years as a temp, so 21 years at my company, I am officially laid off.
So it's happening. It's starting to happen. I've been watching a lot of data points that are coming across the table right now. You need to stay tuned. You need to listen to some of these people's stories because people are starting to vlog their experiences of being laid off. And as we go into, whether we call it a recession or this lull point, people are starting to lose their jobs. And these are breathtaking. I want you to ask yourself, what would you do if this happened to you? What would you do? What would be your next steps?
I'm waiting for them to let me into the meeting room. I'm pretty sure I'm getting laid off today. There are 3 other people that are supposed to be on the call with me and the CMO.
Everyone knows, we've been dealing with some pretty drastic changes in the business. As most of you saw, and I'm sure heard yesterday, we had to, shut down the teleservices division of the business, which was over 800 people impacted by that change. And so that's a really drastic shift in the business. And unfortunately, it requires us to do the same from the corporate perspective. I want to make sure you all understand that this is, a widespread corporate action that's taking place today. Unfortunately, today will be your last day with the organization.
Due to the impact that this ruling has had on the business, it's a big impact, and at this time we are unable to offer severance to any of the people impacted in this.
Thanks, Joni. I really enjoyed getting to know all of you, and wish you all the very best, and I hope we get to talk soon.
Well, that's exactly what happened. It's just sad. It sucks because I really like our CMO. And I don't know, it's just on to bigger and better things, hopefully. So any marketing positions, hit me up.
These are breathtaking to listen to, and I've been through this. I remember when the Army downsized. I remember when the DOD downsized last time, back during the Obama administration, and they just started cutting like 70,000 people. And, I had this conversation with Samantha. What would we do if this happened to her? Like, what would we do? And we had a friend recently. He'd been working at an institution for 30 years. He had a nice house, 2 fancy cars, and he came into work one day. They grabbed his badge. They wouldn't let him go to his desk, and they had locked him out of his email. And they told him that he would be no longer working there. And he had a very high, big position, C-suite. He was shocked. And his next thought was, what am I going to do? I've got a big mortgage. I got 2 fancy cars. I've got kids. I've got, a lot of things riding on me, and now I'm unemployed. And I told Samantha, what would we do? And after watching most of these videos, TikTok's full of people being laid off right now. In truckloads, and they're videoing it, and it's really putting it in perspective. Let's keep watching this.
I just got laid off after moving across the world for this job, and I'm not even on a visa because I'm a citizen here, but I have no family here because I was born here, but my parents are not citizens and they never lived here, so I'm my only family. I came here on a 6-figure job. I was a high performer, they didn't bring me for nothing, but I got laid off due to restructuring, as do all companies, all tech companies do. And the worst part is I'm in healthcare. I'm not a software engineer. I was a clinical project manager / program manager, and I lost my job. And I still have like 7 months more to go in my lease, which I don't know what I'm gonna, where I'm gonna pay, where I'm gonna get the funds for that. And all the jobs that people are sending me are entry-level positions, and the big companies don't want you if you don't have fucking 7 years of experience. But I only have 2 years of experience on my job and a bachelor of pharmacy, which is not a thing here. And I want to know, what kinds of solutions are there for people like me? Because I don't meet people like me. People like me exist, one in I don't know how many, but we're not that often, like, we're not that many, and we have nowhere to go. We go back home, but our homes suck. So, I don't know, like, I feel so weird because I also kind of feel so free. I'm like, I could do whatever the I want, but at the same time I can't because I need income. And it's so, and I cannot even make it past the resume. Like, I can't even get a interview. Like, and maybe this is me, like, I'm speaking too soon because it's only been a fucking week. It's not even been a week. It's been like 6 days. But I feel a mix of emotions. Like, I'm so confident that the universe is gonna give me something that's way better, but at the same time I don't know what that is. And it's so scary not knowing where you're gonna find the money to do something and not wanting to fucking go back home. Like, I'm not, like, this is my home too, bro. Like, not just because my parents were born in this country doesn't mean that I have any less of a right to be here. I literally never make videos like this because I normally don't make videos like this because I'm a very positive person. Like, I have so much faith, but I don't know. I just needed to let it out because I want to look back on this moment and be like, girl, like, you didn't know what was coming for you.
I totally feel for her. I remember being a young person, 2008, graduating from college. There was nobody hiring. You created this resume. You did everything they told you to do. You went to school. You got those student loans. You did everything that you were supposed to do. And then there's no way forward. And being a young person without any type of guidance, I didn't have a father that had been through corporate America or was a congressman or anything. I was out there just like this, struggling. And, now looking back as a successful person that's been through the trenches, and I see young people having a hard time, like, what I want to tell you in this video is going to help you. I was told by my father, the one thing he did tell me is always have a plan B. Always be forward thinking about, if this falls apart, what are you going to do next? And all careers come to an end, whether they last 2 years or 20 years or 30 years. They all come to an end. And, through the process of creating your job experience in your resume, you're learning a set of skills that will go from one thing to the next. For me, I learned responsibility, organization, and was able to, get a paycheck from the military. When I got out, I learned business, and then I went to school for business, and then I started businesses, and then I did real estate, and then I learned sales skills, and then I learned videography, and I learned all these things. They all stack on each other. And sometimes it's a journey to get you to the next thing, and don't ever be afraid to go out on that next journey. And it could be hard, but what I've always done in a little book like this, as I went through, I had my plan B, C, D, E, F, and I always made sure that I was saving for a rainy day. Look, this is where Dave Ramsey's emergency fund always comes in, is for when times like this happen. You're putting that money aside every month. You're staying away from debt, because remember the story of the person that had the fancy job. When you have that mortgage, when you have that fancy car, when you have those fancy student loans, you have handcuffs. We call them the golden handcuffs. And that means you must go to that job or you lose everything. You can never leave that job or you lose everything. You can never do the things that could get you to, hey, let's be an entrepreneur and start a business. Let's get away from the 9 to 5. Let's get away from the grind of somebody yelling at you for not completing the TPI sheets or that Excel spreadsheet you don't want to do anyways. Sometimes that adventure can transcend you into other directions. And that's why I've always been so big on no debt. You don't have a mortgage that you can lose everything from. You're not playing Russian roulette with the roof over your kid's house. You're not worrying about the aggregate between the risky stock market and paying for your mortgage because you're going to pay that off. You have an emergency fund. You're saving for a rainy day, and you're putting that emergency fund into a high yield savings account that'll get you a return while you're waiting for that what if scenario. You do not want to find yourself in, if I miss 2 mortgage payments, I lose my house. That all that equity I've built into this house, the blood, sweat, and tears, I could lose it. And if you're a renter, I mean, sometimes renting in a situation like this could be a good thing that, hey, I might need to bounce to another part of the country and start anew. You've got 3 months left on your rent and you've saved for a rainy day. You're biding your time, building your resume, getting your opportunities in order to go to that next thing.
When you don't have any payments but a house payment and you have your emergency fund, that's a foundational place to begin to build wealth.
It's a foundational place to have some peace of mind. And know if it all goes south, you know what? I'm going to sit on my duffel, I'm going to drink some water, and I'm going to figure it out. The life I've chosen to build was one from a position of FU. That if you fired me today, I'm going to go home, my house is paid for, I'm going to live there until I figure out what I'm doing next. If it's starting another business, if it's talking, if it's going and selling a house, or if it's like flipping or wholesaling a property, I'll come home, I'll regroup in my sanctuary, and then I'll go at it again. And that is the foundation of building wealth, because I'm going to take my money, I took my emergency fund, I saved it. It allowed me to have some peace of mind that I've got a 6-month windfall. I've got an 8-month windfall. I've got a 3-month windfall to where I can figure it out. I'm going to take a day or two, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to put everything in a list of everything that I can do. I'm going to say, here's my financial assets and my position. Here's how long I got to figure this out. And then I'm going to hit it the next couple days hard trying to figure out where I'm going. I'm going to use my network of people that I know and say, hey, is there anything out there? I'm really good at this. I'm going to start putting myself out there. I'm going to go through my phone list and look for every opportunity I possibly can. And then when I run out of that, my power base of people and finances, I'm going to start going out and introducing myself to people until I find something. Because I'm going to have a can-do attitude, not a defeated attitude. And this is how I'm going to get through this.
21 years old. I worked in corporate banking for almost, next week it'll be 2 years. So if you guys can tell, I have a little bit of fear on me right now. I have a little bit of a transparent vlog for you guys today. I woke up this morning and there was a meeting on my calendar with somebody I've never met. Immediately started to freak out. I was not intending to go into the office. As you guys can tell, I'm dressed and ready to go into the office right now. My face isn't done. I didn't pack a lunch. I packed my water, grabbed my work bag, ran out the door. I'm about to hop in this meeting. It's 9:58. My meeting's at 10. There's one person on my team before me and she's gone. Yes. I just got laid off. Well, no more 21-year-old in corporate banking vlogs for a while. Now it's day in my life as a 20-year-old recently laid off corporate banking job. It is on God's hands. I'm gonna be okay. My whole team did get laid off. We're all gonna be okay. And I'm gonna share this entire journey with you guys. That's the only thing getting me through this right now.
You know, situations as a young person can either devastate you or you can look at them as a learning experience. See, when you're young, you have the ability to bounce back. You can go to another part of the country, another part of the world. You can figure out some new experiences from this, but you have to stay positive. I was in a very dark place when this was happening to me, and I had to have people around me, mentors, guide me, because I am one of those, I tried so hard and it didn't work out. What did I do wrong? Well, sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. It's just a situation. As we're seeing the economy doing a lot of this, we're seeing politicians do a lot of this, we're seeing, things that are outside of our control making us lose our jobs. And to see a young person just say, you know what, I'm going to take this in stride, and there's something better for me out there that I'm going to find eventually.
Let me begin by saying we hoped we wouldn't be in this position again. Yet we are, and we deeply regret the impact this decision may have on you. For that, I am truly very sorry. This decision is not a reflection on you as individuals. I also want to say you've been tremendous team members, colleagues, and friends to me and so many others. We are here to support you both personally and professionally as you navigate next steps. We will begin deactivating all systems access at this time. At this time, I will end the call.
And that's it. And they turned everything off.
that would be so hard for me. I'm a pretty prideful person. And I think the moment I started hearing this spill, 2 or 3 minutes of, hey, I'm going to be nice about telling you you're unemployed, I don't know if I could sit there for it. And my goal for my life has always said, you can't unemploy Jack Motley. I'm going to build a life to where I have many forms of income coming in, that I'm not going to be dependent on some nosy C-suite executive that's probably going to get fired right after you because he gets paid too much. Tell me that in a long-winded circle of events that I'm not going to be able to feed my kids next week. And you know what the worst part about this is? Benefits, health insurance. And if you have a family, it is staggering how scary it is when you don't have health insurance. And when I don't feel like sometimes these employers understand that, oh, we'll just cut 5,000 people. That you just cut 5,000 little kids off of health insurance. And I mean, it just gives me chills to think about my son not being able to go to the doctor at 3 o'clock in the morning because he hurt himself or he's not breathing properly or something. I mean, think about that. This is where we're at in our society, that we can fund a war in some place nobody can point on the map, but yet a little kid can't go to the hospital because his mom was fired yesterday for no reason. I just can't get over that. I've got many thoughts on that. What do you think down below? What do you think about all this situation? What is your opinion, whether it's this way or that way, about losing your job? And if you lost your job, what would you do? Comment that down in the comment section below. So maybe there's a young person or an older person out there that just lost their job, because hundreds of thousands of people are losing their job right now. Maybe your comment allowed them to feed their family. They learned something from your comment that got them either the next job or started that business. What did you do if this happened to you?
2025, I'm going to need a refund because this year sucks already. I just got laid off for basically the second time back to back. If you didn't know, I worked at Twitter and I got laid off when Elon Musk acquired the company. Since then, I've been working at a like a content strategy agency type place as a director of strategy, and I just got laid off yesterday. It's surreal because I definitely didn't want to go through another layoff. Being laid off the first time was one of the most traumatic events that have ever happened to me, especially because it happened so publicly. This time was obviously a little bit different, but the company lost some clients and now here I am without a job. It's hard not to reevaluate my life choices at this point. I work in tech, and so I'm wondering if that's still what I should be doing. It's hard to feel like secure in a job anymore. It feels like those days are over. So I don't know if I should be in tech anymore or working this corporate life. I love the security of having a stable job, but that hasn't been the case for quite some time for me because it's just been so unstable in the industry. So I'm considering other options, obviously. I had a wild idea. I think somebody on TikTok said, hey, become an ultrasound tech. That takes like 2 years of schooling and then you're in. And I was like, sounds good to me. But again, I also really enjoyed my job doing marketing, strategy, working in the digital space, working with tech. It is fast paced and it's very exciting. So I honestly don't know what to do.
When it comes to tech, I will say this, that AI is going to remove a lot of people from the tech sector. I mean, it's been said by Mark Zuckerberg that already AI can replace low-level engineers, mid-level engineers as far as coding. Probably 5 years from the smartest coding guy out there saying, probably 5-10 years from them saying, hey, the smartest guy out there, you're done too from coding because the computer can do it better. And this is going to happen to a lot of sectors, that AI is going to replace people and they're going to have to go back and find new skill sets. And my big thing is, and we learned this when the military got rid of us back in, 2014, 2013, 2012, that sometimes you got to go back to school. And the thought of going back to school is crazy because it takes so long to go through school. And I think that's why a lot of people now are saying, you know what, I'm not doing college, or even the businesses are saying we don't want somebody to go to college because it takes so long. And they'll wind up putting people in the same job that they're going to get. They just have to go and get the degree to come back. And the degree, let's say the MBA, is almost obsolete by the time they get to the workforce anyways, because the marketing and the way most businesses operate and that professor that's teaching you is not the same that's going to operate when you get in the industry. Like I see it in the hospitals. And it's such a frustrating experience that why does it take 3 years for me to go learn another skill set to come back? It's a very frustrating thing. And maybe certificates are the new way, and I think some of these big corporations are doing that. But most of the things I do today had nothing to do with my education or my bachelor's degree, or nobody taught me how to make film, and nobody taught me how to do lighting and microphones. I had to learn these skill sets, adapt, and then go into a new job sector, something that I created that unless Google shuts down or this thing gets hacked, I am unfireable. I can always be talking, I can always be selling, I can always be doing real estate or flipping real estate or whatever. Even if I had to start a power washing company, I just choose not to work for somebody else that I have to go through one of these conversations that they say, you're no longer going to be here. And then as a real estate agent, as a salesperson, you can go to work with somebody else tomorrow.
I got a random meeting on my calendar. I feel like, and there's a bunch of them on this other lady's calendar. I hope I'm not getting fired. I will die.
The anxiety, watching these, is building up in me as I'm watching these.
Someone else is in there. I'm getting fired. Oh my God, I'm getting fired. Hello.
Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I asked who I think you know, so join us.
I couldn't do that. If I knew I was getting fired, I'm like Jerry Maguire. Who's coming with me? I'm getting out of here, and who's coming with me? I'm flipping the table, and Jack Miley's out.
For this call, she is our HR representative.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some updates we'd like to share with you this morning.
Okay.
So as you know, we have been working with to help us identify the best way forward for this last period of time. And while we originally believed that we would be integrating with, we've instead determined that it was a best for us to refocus the agency in an independent agency. And in doing so, we've initiated a buyback of it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, as you may know, the lack of growth and the decline in our client revenue has negatively impacted our business beyond what we can sustain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's forced us to make what are very difficult decisions to eliminate roles within the agency. And this includes the elimination of your role, making today your last day. Please know that it was a very difficult decision. You made meaningful contributions to the last couple of years, and we have much respect and gratitude for what you've done and what you've given. At this point, what I will do is I'll turn it over to you so she can take you through some of the next steps.
Email meeting up shortly. And, once you get the chance to review and look everything over, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Heather. I wish you the best.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.
That was heart-wrenching. Heart-wrenching. What you got to do here, you got to have your plan B. Where's a career I would go if this ended right now? Would I go back to school? Would I go into another sector? Would I start a business? And you have to have liquidity for that, and that's the emergency fund. If tripling that emergency fund is secretly what you are doing, well, then go for it. Like for me, when I was in the military and I knew the walls were coming in, they were getting rid of people, there was a lot of people getting out, I was saving my money for a house. And I knew that when I got out of there, I was going to go buy me a house here in the great city of Pensacola, and I wasn't going to need much more money because I was going to have a paid-for house. And that was in the back of my mind. And it was all liquid. It was all in cash. And it was just sitting there. And I I was like, YOLO, that's what I'm doing. And when I get there, I'll figure it out. And I'm going to go fishing until I figure it out. And that's what I did. I had reduced my debt to zero. I didn't have any credit cards. I had enough money to buy a house. Because from the time I was 23 years old to the time I was 30, 31, I saved every penny. I lived with roommates. I did everything possible. I, just frolicked around the globe saving my money. Because if I knew, if this all the wheels come off this train, Jack Molly's going to go pay for him a paid for house. He was going to cash it out and he was going to have a paid for house. He was going to have zero debt. And if I had to go back to school, that's what I'd do. And that's what I did. And I knew I had liquidity, I had options, I was dealing from a position of FU. And if I had to go rent a room or a bed for $200 or $300 a month for a while, that's what I was going to do. I wasn't scared of it. The military taught me one thing, that only thing I really needed as a young person was 2 duffel bags, some clothes, my computer. Living in the desert, I knew I didn't need that much. I just needed food, maybe a gym, place to shower, bed to sleep in, and I could figure it out. That was one thing that the Army hammered into me, was the confidence to do that. Now, mentally, you have to recoup from all of this anxiety, but actually going out there and getting it done, if you had cash in your pocket and you had the will to do it and you had an education and you had a skill set, you're going to find it.
Just got laid off about an hour ago. I cried for a while, and I think the hardest part about it is I loved my job, I cared so much, but like knowing that you put your full effort towards something and then feeling like they decided it wasn't enough or it wasn't worth enough. Like right now I feel just very like not even undervalued, because I clearly am not valued, but like that all of my effort wasn't good enough, or it wasn't important, or it wasn't relevant. I got laid off today, and it's just, I don't know, and LA is burning and their fires are everywhere, and I got laid off and I don't have a job. So like in perspective, it's not that big of a deal. There's other jobs, but it goes so much deeper than not having a job. So yeah, I don't know. I'm jobless.
That's one thing too about this, is these corporate gigs, they don't care about you. You're a number. And no matter how much you put into it, how much you put into that organization, that tomorrow some person from corporate that's never met you before could come in, hack your everything you've ever done to pieces and say you're no longer wanted here. So it really builds this culture of like, what was it good for? Was it absolutely nothing? And I just don't know how I would take it. And I think that's why as an entrepreneur, I have this, I would rather work 200 hours a week for myself than 35 hours a week for somebody else. I couldn't deal with, I just put my blood, sweat, and tears into this organization, and now they don't want me. And it's by somebody I've never even met before. I just couldn't do that. Could you?
I got laid off, and I'm terrified. I started 2025 with some really big goals of wanting to pay off all of my credit card debt and also save up for a down payment on a house. And now the unknown is absolutely terrifying for what I can and cannot afford. Even if I make the maximum of unemployment, that's only about $370 a month, and that is not going to cover my expenses, my debt payoff journey, my savings plan. It can't do all three. I'm very lucky to have a decent savings built up, as well as have a husband who can also provide for us. But I was the breadwinner in our relationship, and so this will be definitely difficult going forward to see what we can afford. Funny enough, I knew this was coming in some way, shape, or form. I just didn't think it was going to happen as soon as it did and the way that it did. We got called to an all-hands meeting in which we were told that our company was closing and that everyone's employment was being terminated effective immediately. I truly loved my job. I loved what I did. I'm proud of the habits that I have built in this low buy year so far. I know it's only month one, but I've done really well at not overly, shopping, spending money on things that I don't need. So, I want to keep building on those habits, and really are going to help me hone in on not over.
I've learned being married that it is hard being single and surviving in this world. Everything's so expensive. Housing is so expensive. And without two incomes, it can be very hard, especially with a child or as a parent. I can't imagine being a single parent. I have so much respect for those people out there doing it by themselves. And without having that second income and you stumble, well, the whole set of dominoes can come down. And that's why I'm so big on no debt. And it's just sad that we're going to see more and more stories like this as the economy starts to get soft.
So today something happened. My boss sent me a text and asking me if I got a meeting invite for 9 a.m. this morning. Then we met, and then there's been like a lot of changes in our business. Then she said, unfortunately, your job has been impacted as well. So after 19 official years, 2 years as a temp, so 21 years at my company, I am officially laid off. And it was a shock, but it is an opportunity now because I feel like everything happens for a reason, and God puts us in places where it might seem like we're uncomfortable, but it's because you need to move. So I'm excited about my future. I'm happy and grateful for the 21 years at my old company. We'll see how it goes from here.
I totally believe that. Sometimes when you get too big for the room, you know, you get shoved into another one. Sometimes you're not thinking of the next adventure you're being called to do, and it comes out of nowhere. You know, that person at the door. And I had a moment like that recently where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with this whole channel and everything. And I encountered an opposition at a legitimate door one day. And I looked at it, I was like, is this opposition? Is this that person? Or is this a test? And sometimes these are tests. Like, what are you going to do next? Go write a great book. Go become a speaker. Go change lives. Go be a disciple and get out there and meet new people, or get out there and send a message. Or you might go into politics, or you might do something that could change lives. And you weren't meant to stay in that little room, and the door was slammed on you and said, go out and do what you were created to do. I think that's true.
Now I'm unemployed, I have a ton of debt, and I'm also losing my health insurance.
Did it ever cross your mind that you could be fired in a second?
That part actually never crossed my mind.
Did your supervisor give you a reason for why you were getting fired?
They made it clear that I was not being terminated because of anything that I had done.
An HH.
You know, here's my biggest thing. Most of the time these bosses know it's coming. And it is a pretty rough person to do it on a Friday. That you don't have the entire week to go out there and find a new opportunity. I mean, if you got fired on Monday, by Friday, you could probably do some things to get back in another position somewhere. You could get on the phone while people are in their office. You could go out amongst the people and try to find a job. But when you get fired on Friday, you've got until Monday for it to just sit in on you with very little opportunities to go after over the weekend. Like, what are you going to do? You sit there and you just revel in it, you know, just sit there and just bathe in the anxiety. But if on Tuesday you could go out, if you got fired on a Monday and you went out on Tuesday and you're just beating the woods down, you could be employed again on Friday, you know, and you could be getting a payment or a paycheck very soon and only have a gap of just a little while. It's the ones where families are riding on stuff and you do this to people. That's a dark person. And if you're a boss, don't do that. Fire somebody on a Monday, not on a Friday. Listen to this guy. He has a plan, and he has thought about this, and maybe this will help you too.
I got laid off today. Here's exactly what I would do next. From somebody who has worked in hiring for over a decade and somebody who lost 2 jobs last year. First, you hear this all the time, but it's important. Apply for unemployment. Immediately, right now. Come back to the rest of this video later, but go apply for unemployment now. In some states, it takes a really long time to process. Next, I always recommend some type of pause for introspection for yourself. But I know for many of you, you feel like you can't take this time off. I understand, but I would try to take some. Next, of course, assuming you have not done it, is update your resume. I say do this before the next steps because you do want the resume ready to go, but don't just slap something together quick. You're going to be sending it to a lot of people very shortly and you want it to be good. Next, I would optimize my LinkedIn profile and headline based on a lot of tips that are out there. That is because the next step is your LinkedIn post. Do not waste this LinkedIn post. It will probably get more views on your profile than you're used to having. I've linked to the video of exactly sort of how I say to do it, so you can use that as a guideline. But understand that people will see this and look at your profile, and you want it to be ready to go and appealing. I would do all of this before contacting anyone or applying to any jobs, because you don't get a second chance at a first impression.
That's so true. People only remember you by the first thing they saw of you. Like, I haven't made a fishing video in 5 years, but people still call me the fishing YouTuber. Spend the time to get your ducks in a row, your money in a row, your life in a row. Build a position of power to where you can go out there at full speed and find the employment you need. You might realize in this next few days, week, whatever, that you didn't even like what you're doing, but you always wanted to do this. And if you were positioned in a financial stronghold, you could say, you know what? Look, I got like 6 months worth of extra, and I've always wanted to do cocktails on the beach. I think I'm going to go do that. Or I've always wanted to go and become a writer or a journalist. Or I've always wanted to take that one trip, and you go on that trip, and while you're on that trip, you meet somebody that gives you an opportunity. Because while you were out there traveling, you were networking, you were reaching your hand out to new people, and it created new opportunity. But if I could just say anything that I've said a million times, that have a plan. If you have massive amounts of credit card debt or a mortgage that's uncontrollable, hey, look, if you lost your job, could you control all this? That's why you got to get rid of it. If you have a mortgage and you lose your job and you can't get one fast, you're looking at a position that's a really dark place. Or if at the same time your insurance doubled on your house and your monthly payment went up, or your property taxes went up, could you afford that house, and would you lose everything? And these are the questions people are going to have to ask themselves. Do I have a LinkedIn profile? Do I have social media? I might not like it, but I have to have it. All these things that prepare you to have options are the things you got to start thinking about. So that's all I got on this video. Comment down below. Spread your knowledge out there for everybody to know. That's what I try to do with these videos, is help educate people, stuff that I didn't know. And maybe it helps somebody out there, or maybe it doesn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.